Skinny Hardaway Southern T, back with another EP. Y'all do your boy a favor, y'all smash that like button for your boy when you roll on in. Whether you're here for a good time or a long time, I greatly appreciate you sliding through. If this your first time, do your boy solid. Don't make it your last time. Hit that subscription button as well. We talk this good MMA, boxing, sports, parlays, predictions every single day, and not just today. Today, on this EP, we here with the highly anticipated Eubank Jr. versus Conor Benn bout is finally here. This fight is going to be held at the 160-pound division. This is a rematch of the fathers, Eubank Sr. and Nigel Benn, right? If I'm not mistaken, Nigel and Eubank fought twice. Could have been 3 times, right? But I know they fought multiple times, in which Eubank Sr. was victorious. One of the fights was highly controversial, right? So now you have the sons continuing the saga, right? The family feud in the bout, that was supposed to happen last year, but, due to unforeseen circumstances, right? A little bit of Eubank not wanting to fight, and also a little bit of Conor Benn being suspended, for PED use, having to get, Eubank to get back on board with it. And now we're here, right? They had the whole egg situation. So this has been, pretty interesting on the whole, right? All around the board. But all of, the nonsense is out the way. It's fight week. We're here. We got the weigh-in this week. If I'm not mistaken, it's another press conference, a final press conference. And then we got the weigh-in, right? And then Saturday, the real thing is on. What I'm about to do here right now is I'm about to give you the prediction for every fight on this card. And also, I'm going to give you my most confident picks. And before we get up out of here, I'm going to give y'all the parlay. So I had not already wasted enough of y'all time. Let's go ahead and get into it. And just for the record, when I alluded to Eubank Jr. not wanting to fight, I wasn't saying that he was ducking or anything like that. I was alluding to the fact that the fight really didn't interest him like that, right? And then he ended up getting on board. And then Conor Benn had the PED thing, so he really said to hell with the fight, right? And then the Sheik had to either the Sheik personally went to him or the Sheik personally called him, right? And he made him, an offer, basically Chris Eubank, he asked Chris Eubank what he wanted. Chris Eubank said a number, and the Sheik gave it to him, right? So now we're here. But that is what I was referring to when I said that Chris Eubank didn't want to fight, not that he was ducking. But we are going to keep the main thing with this EP. We going to start with the EP, Chris Eubank versus Conor Benn. Now, this is very interesting on the surface and in depth, right? On the surface, what do you have, right? You have Chris Eubank Jr., a career welterweight, facing Conor Benn, a career 147-pounder, who's coming off of a steroid allegation, right? He has had 2 fights since the allegation in which he did not record a knockout in either fight, right? So, you got the PED situation, and then you came back from the PED situation, right? You haven't recorded knockouts like you were recording knockouts before you left, right? He was on a pretty, tremendous run at that time. So you come back, you're not getting knockouts, right? So I think that furthermore heightens the question of, how good is Conor Benn? Was it the PEDs, or was he really that guy that was on that knockout streak, looking like that he was ever improving? He's fighting a guy in Eubank who's much bigger than him in stature and height and weight and arm reach, right? He's really facing he's going up against it, right? He's facing he has all of the disadvantages in this fight, right? His opponent has all of the advantages. Conor Benn's really only chance of winning this fight is for him to be able to get on the inside of Chris Eubank and hoping that maybe he can apply some pressure, because I really don't see him being able to outbox Chris Eubank Jr. Not because Conor Benn can't box, just because, again, for a lot that I mentioned, man, those physical traits, right, the arm reach. You would think that Eubank Jr. will have the power edge. Now Chris Eubank Jr. may just be ultra determined. Conor Benn may just be ultra determined, right? He may bait down and he might give Chris Eubank Jr. everything he got. I feel like that's either a feast or a famine. What I would tell you is that I don't feel like this fight is going the distance due to the magnitude of it, due to the personal, feelings involved, due to what's already been going on again with the egg situation, due to, Conor Benn feeling like Chris Eubank didn't want to fight, due to Chris Eubank not having any respect for Conor Benn because, he pop dirty. It's a lot of invested into this. I think both these guys are going to come out here and they going to fight pretty hard. I'll be, shocked if this fight went the distance. So, the main thing in this, I don't think that this fight is going the distance. And if you asking me, what bet I'm going to make, I'm probably going to take that under 9.5. I don't think this fight is going the distance, right? Or maybe you want to take that. But if you're asking me which side that I'm taking, as much as I like Conor Benn, I really do think that he is up against it in this fight. I hope that I'm wrong. I really do hope that I'm wrong. But I think Chris Eubank Jr. gets the win. And I think that he stops Conor Benn. I think 10 rounds, like 9.5, right? 10 rounds. I think 10 rounds is, a long time for these two guys to be fighting. Again, especially with everything that's been going on, if I see this going one of two ways, right? Either Conor Benn can get the edge on Chris Eubank Jr., therefore he's going to, stop him, or Conor Benn is going to be trying to get the edge on Chris Eubank Jr., and Chris Eubank Jr. is going to have to really hurt Conor Benn to keep Conor Benn from having that full pressure, right? And they could also tie into a Chris Eubank, Jr. TKO stoppage from, just, cut punches by 1,000, death by 1,000 cuts, right? Even if he's not able to put, Conor Benn down, I think he'll be able to, maybe accumulation damage type of thing. But I don't see this fight going the distance. Either way, I think the under 9.5 works as well. And something is telling me, man, that Chris Eubank Jr. is going to stop Conor Benn because, the weight jump. And I just think he's, in such an uphill battle in this. So I do got Chris Eubank Jr. to win, but I hope I'm wrong. And I know I took unusually long with that intro and that first fight prediction, but I am going to predict the rest of the card for you because there's some more interesting fights on this card. So y'all bear with me, and I'm going to give y'all the parlays at the end. But let's go and get right into that first fight. Well, let's go and get into the first fight that I'm going to give you after. The next fight I want to talk about is Vidal Riley and Chevron Clark. I wish I could talk about this fight a little longer, but I used so much time up in the intro in the main event. This fight was one of the tougher fights for me to pick, right? My mind tells me that this fight is going to go the distance, right? I low-key don't think anyone's going to get knocked out. I have small questions about both these guys. This gas tank just a little bit, right? Chevron a little more than Vidal. Again, I think, the over will suffice. I think this goes the distance. Something is telling me that Vidal Riley is going to be able to outbox Chevron. So I'm going to go with Vidal Riley in this fight. Slight lean, not overly confident, but I think it's going to be a good fight. Again, I think it goes over, and I think that fight goes the distance. All right, we got the rubber match between Anthony Yarde and Lyndon Arthur. Anthony Yarde won the last fight by knockout. The first fight, Lyndon Arthur won it by split decision. I'm going to take Anthony Yarde to win this fight by knockout like he did in the second fight. I don't want to say Lyndon Arthur is over the hill, but he is past his prime. Anthony Yarde beat him the last time. I think Anthony Yarde beats him the same way this time. Anthony Yarde by knockout. Next fight, we got Liam Smith versus Aaron McKenna. Originally, I said, Aaron McKenna should win this fight fairly easy, but this isn't going to be an easy fight, right? Liam Smith is not an easy fighter, so I do think he's going to test Aaron McKenna a little bit, but I am going to take Aaron McKenna to win. I don't think anybody gets stops in this fight. I'm going to take Aaron McKenna on the points over Liam Smith in a good step-up fight for Aaron McKenna. All right, this next fight is veering around the dog or pass area for me, just giving the value or the volatileness of the fight, right? I don't expect this fight to go the distance. I am leaning, as much as I want to go Brandon Glad, I am leaning the Chris Bellum Smith side, but I'm probably going to end up just not playing this fight, not to go the distance, right? But I guess Chris Bellum, should win, but I'm probably just going to play this fight not distance. All right, this is the winners portion of the video. Just to give you a recap on who I think winning each fight: Eubank Jr., Riley, Yard, McKenna, and Bellum Smith. That Bellum Smith Gladden fight is a bit of a dog or pass for me, but I do think last but not least, we got the parlay section. This is just money lines right now, right? Because no methods have been dropped. Eubank Jr., McKenna, Anthony Yard on the money line for the money. That's all I got for y'all, man. Skinny Hardaway, Southern T. This ain't the past. This ain't the future. It's the present. Let's have it rocking, and I'm out. Love. And if I didn't make it clear on why I had anybody, I think Eubank Jr. wins because of his size. I think Riley wins because he's going to outbox Clark, and Clark gasses a little bit. I think Anthony Yard is going to win because he's just more in his prime and he knocked the guy before. I think McKenna's going to win a tough boxing match, step-up fight for him. And Bellum Smith and Gladden is really a dog or pass. I may end up going Gladden right, but Smith should win it.